Hey folks, hope you're good. Chris here, and a few people have asked about my front door speaker upgrade in Old Boy, the Freelander one. Just got back from a laning trip with Sol. Sol, if you're watching, good to catch up with you, buddy. And he's been putting out loads of videos, and it kind of inspired me. So thank you for that, Sol. I thought, man, I've got so much footage just sat here doing nothing. And sometimes I just kind of don't have time to edit, so I thought I'd just quickly piece together a little bit of this footage and just kind of talk folks through it as we're watching it. Let's watch it together. So for those that don't know, Old Boy is a 2002 TD4, and I recently took apart the doors because the central locking was goosed, and I noticed a completely pathetic amount of like sound dampening on the doors. They're quite metallic as you're driving. That is literally the only piece of deadening material. And whilst I know you don't have to cover the whole door to get a deadening effect, the doors ring. You can definitely hear as you're driving along. So I thought, whilst I have the door apart and all the door cards off and the central locking out, I thought, man, I'm just going to do a quick upgrade. Turned out it wasn't that quick. I broke my leg halfway through, non-related to the door, but I just thought, man, do you know what? I can kind of hobble around. I was on my crutches, and it kind of kept me sane when I couldn't drive. So that was the before, and as you can see here, the after. I'll put the camera in a second. The audio here wasn't very good, which is why I thought I would narrate over it instead. But you can already start to see in the gaps there's a lot more acoustic dampening material. I'll show that in a quick second. The stuff that I bought, just in case you wanted, and I think it comes in 10 centimeter squares. It comes with a roller, and I basically, as far as I could get my hand inside the door, I covered the inside of the door with it. I cut some strips and kind of did the inside this section of the door as well, like the near side, any little panel I could get, even like the offcuts. I just thought, you know what, let's use it up. From that point, for those that don't know, these speaker holes are a funny size, and the way that they mount, the holes are not symmetrical for the speakers. The OEM speakers, Landrover obviously did it so you can only use OEM speakers, but you know the rate with which rubber deteriorates after nearly 24 years of existence, the speakers, they were okay, they just lost a bit of efficiency and they were starting to kind of lose a bit of oomph. So these holes here, you can see, in fact, if I pause it there, let's have a quick reload, you can see that they're not mounted symmetrically. The bottom two are wider than the top two, so you need a flange. In fact, I think I have that here. I'd pulled that up. I got it off powerfuluk.com, and they come as a set of 4. Obviously I only needed 2. There's nothing in the back of Old Boy. I'll maybe show that another time, a different project. But they send you this lovely little kit, and I took obviously 2 of those out of the kit for this project. What you can see next up is they kind of mount directly into the existing speaker holes. The plastic, I'm not sure what they're called, pop nuts, not riv nuts, you know the ones, trim holders. They screw straight in. They look like 5mm MDF. And I don't know if you can see there, if I pause it, you can kind of tell that I'd extended the speaker lines because they were very, very short, and I couldn't see how I would be able to get the speaker in and connected and kind of done efficiently. I wanted to like solder them neatly and make sure that they weren't going to sort of rattle free whilst I'm off-roading or anything like that. So I just basically put an extra foot of just high quality copper speaker cable on, obviously soldered that, crimped it, shrink wrapped it on top. Belt and braces job. Now I could be confident. Original screws went in here, which was nice and easy. You don't need to see me screwing, but then you can see where I added the cable and then where I shrink wrapped it and kind of did a proper job with adding it onto the spade ends. The speakers themselves were JBLs, and they're coaxial JBLs, which means the bass and the mid-range comes out of them, but they were the perfect size. Stage 1, 621s if you're curious. Stage 1, 621s from JBL, and you can find them on Amazon. I know you said eBay then. I think I paid about 45 quid. Does look like they've come down slightly. 39. Do they sound amazing? Nah. They're better than what was in there. I've always been a fan of JBL. I used to work with an audio company and we sold a ton of JBL back in the day. And as you can see, they're really well rated. Thousands of good sort of 3, 4, 5-star reviews. So they are okay. Are they the same sound as like a £600 pair of focals? No. No, they're not. But they're alright. They go doof, you know. Some of the holes didn't quite match up, so just be prepared for that. I think that's what I was explaining in the video, but like I say, the audio didn't work too well. And they do sit a little bit funny on the original screws, but I don't think that even if you're picky, there's nothing left at that point to do but to give them a little sound test. And of course that had to be a little bit of a classic tunage. A little bit of Moby, a little bit of Go. And they sounded alright. As part of the refurb, in fact, just before I get onto that bit, the tweeters that are sat in the top of the door card, I'm probably going to replace. And then I'll change the balance on the stereo so that it's a little bit more bass heavy, because they do sound a little bit mid-rangey. If you're into rock or vocal, they'd sound great. I'm more into dance music. I think I'll probably add a sub on top of these as well. So such is life. That's a before of the door card. I wanted to talk about this briefly. I had used some truck bed liner spray on these, and in fact I'm just going to pause this 1 second and then just pull up the spray that I used so that you know to avoid it. There we go. I just paused that as I was scrolling through my orders on Amazon. It was Autotech truck bed liner black, and it got some pretty good reviews, so I thought, man, I'll give it a go. I don't think it was the best. I don't think it's the worst. But what I do feel is that when you're spraying over this sort of plastic, I did actually I sanded them very lightly, just a little scuff coat, and then I added an acid etch primer, and then I put the truck bed liner on top. This was the result. It was flaking almost immediately. Anytime I put something in the door card, it was just coming off, and it was gross. So as part of this refurb, I kind of took those door cards off. I got a wire brush on the end of my power drill and just blitzed everything, really scuffed them up, and pulled all the decaying foam off the back of the grills, and then just with a stipple paintbrush just used some actual Raptor liner, the proper branded stuff, and I was really happy with the way that it turned out, just because I wanted to keep these handles. They obviously get a lot of traffic. I didn't want bits coming off, and also the way that you have to kind of like pick them off, I didn't want to risk clotting them with paint if I needed to take the door cards off again or anything like that. So I kept these grey, but what you'll see in a second is this is like the before and the after. I'm really pretty happy with. That's the after, so you can see Raptored. That picture actually makes it look quite shiny. It's not actually that shiny. It's quite matte. When you're in there, you can see the speakers behind, and then you can see the tweeters here, which I think I will replace. If I can fit another coaxial speaker in here, I might, or I might replace that tweeter and just run bass to these, as in disconnect the tweeter element. So we will see, but that looks, gosh, so much better as far as I'm concerned. It's like before, after, before, after. And at first I didn't like the fact the handle was grey, but because I'm not planning on touching any of the other kind of original grey bits here, I don't think it looks too bad. It kind of contrasts, so I will stick with that. So central locking done, door cards raptored, speaker upgraded, an extension wire in the speaker all sorted out. Cheapo head unit for now, but I only listen to stuff off USB, so I'm perfectly happy with that. And that's another project done for the old boy, and yeah, pretty happy about that. I'll put links to the bits that I used down below. If anyone's got any questions, do feel free to ask. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to grow the channel a little bit more, and when people like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, it kind of gets me excited to do more videos. So hope everyone's good. Have a great day. Catch you soon.